Welcome to the Freedom Exchange.
So wait, hold on. So we're for sure on.
Hey, techie friend, are we on? Okay.
Okay, good.
So, wow. I was going to ask you about all your day, and it was going to be all smooth, and that didn't quite happen.
That's okay. We're human, and the great thing is we have David on, who knows what being human's like.
Oh, goodness. Hey, we can maybe even do a little editing that we don't usually have to do.
Yeah, we could do that.
So you had a fun day today. What did you do today?
Well, actually, I worked a little bit today, so I was inside.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Okay. That's too bad. It's a beautiful day.
I know. I know. I walked around the block as much as I could when I didn't have guests.
Oh,
Yeah.
lucky you. Okay, well, we have a really cool guest today. I
Yeah.
would say this is the somebody that intentionally said, I am going to switch gears and I'm going to turn my life around. Like, it didn't happen kind of organically. He made this really intentional decision that I'm incarcerated and this is not going to go the way it goes for a lot of people.
Yes.
So I'm really excited for him to share the process and transition and the decision making he did to be where he is now. So I can't wait.
Yeah, and he's helping so many people do the same thing, which is the thing that we love the most.
You guys, we're going to jump right into the deep end today.
Yes.
We are not going to do a lot of hanging out in the shallow end of the pool, which
No.
I'm really excited
Do
about.
we ever?
We probably don't, but
For about a
today I
second.
am sensing it's going to be a good one
Yeah,
for
it
that.
will.
Do you want to talk about the Freedom Exchange and our sponsor?
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Our sponsor today is one we've had before, Signs of Hope. It's with Sarah Colbin. She does expungements. She does it here in Oregon, but she's moving into Washington and California too. She's much wanted around this area. And it includes eviction and criminal records. She walks alongside you the whole time, goes to court, does all the things. And her little saying is, changing your life takes a lot of time, community, and a lot of paperwork. And she walks with you through all the paperwork stuff. So that's awesome.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, and you go to Jane Cole with a K.com. And she'll help you. And she doesn't turn anybody away who doesn't have the money. So that's what makes her amazing.
Thank you, Sarah Jane. Does she?
Yes.
Yeah, she goes by lots of fun
Yeah,
names.
Sarah Jane.
Sarah
Yes.
Jane. And the Freedom Exchange, what are we doing today?
Boy, we are human first, and
We'll just remind you all day long how human we
yeah,
are.
so we make mistakes, and that's okay. So the Freedom Exchange was birthed out of a desire to squash stigma, really to elevate the voices of people who've been incarcerated or affected by incarceration in some way, because we know how amazing people are, and we want to bridge communities. So other people who would not know what someone who received a 30-year sentence would be like and had ideas, but really today you get an hour with David, and that's our love.
Yeah.
That's what we love to do.
So David Gethers, he
Yes.
served. He had a sentence of 30 years, and he served 15, and he's been out doing amazing work to help change the lives of others that have been incarcerated and could use some motivating and some perspective shifting and encouragement, and he's pretty amazing. So let's bring him in because he is in our bougie waiting room with all the cool
Do we
couches
have good snacks
and
in there
lighting,
now?
all the good snacks. I think Snoop Dogg's in there right now. Like, we have a really cool waiting room, so we're going to invite him in.
Yeah, sounds.
I wanna
good.
go to the
I'm not
waiting
over
room.
here.
Hello, David.
Hello, ladies.
So ironically, as soon as we talked to you about your production team situation, we had a massive need for a production team. So
Which
thank
we
you
have
for
now
being
Andres.
patient because we sort of had a human moment just now.
And you're
Okay.
okay with that.
Absolutely.
He's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
So we're just going to jump right in. Welcome to the Freedom Exchange. We're very excited you're here. I would say our pre-interview with you is something that has stuck with both of us all week long. You said some things that we wanted to push back on, that we've been chewing on. And so we're just going to jump in and go right to those places that we already kind of got curious about with you.
And isn't it cool that we have people in our life that we are not afraid to push back with? You know, it's cool
Absolutely.
because I knew that I could say the hard stuff back to him and he would not be offended and he would push right back. And that's what I love. So thank you, David.
You're all
I'm
welcome.
still a little mad, but that's okay. I'm just kidding. I'm not.
We're going to get back into that thing that made her a little mad, and I can't wait to get into it deeper. But how are you today? All's well?
All is well. It's a beautiful set. Well, the sun is going down behind me, but it's a beautiful day here in Texas, and I had a great day. got up this morning, had breakfast, had a chance to spend some time with my 5-year-old, got a little work in, got a little play in. And so now I'm gonna wrap up my evening with you ladies.
Nice.
Sounds perfect. Well, good. So we're going to just, after having such great days, all of us, we're going to jump right into this concept of anger. We're just going to go right there.
That's hilarious because we are so not that type, but it's good for us to go into it. So, okay, I'm ready.
Well, I love that we can talk about it as it's a real human emotion, and life isn't always amazing and great, and sometimes there's some work to do. There's some hard things that we have to face and name and own, and we don't always want to do that, right? Like sometimes we just want to be mad, and maybe there's a season for that, but we need to move through our anger. So, David, let's start with you know, when something got you to the place of being incarcerated, and we talked about it being a lot of anger. There was anger things happening. Could you start us back to before the crime, I guess is the best word to say that?
Yeah.
What was brewing in you? What was percolating? What were all of the components of the anger that was building in you that brought you to the place where the things happened that happened?
Well, so one, I grew up in a single family home. It was just my mother. So I don't have a father. I don't have a role model. I don't have that male figure to pour into me. I don't even have that male figure to discipline me and to, give me the things that a young adolescent needs in order to have a solid foundation, if you will. So you take that. Now, let's do a situation of arithmetic. So no father in the house. Then you add to that, I'm growing up in a community that's undervalued, underserved, under-resourced, underfunded. So now you add that to not having a father. Then you add to it, there are no success stories in my community. My community is filled with drugs. My community is filled with gangs. My community is filled with alcoholics and drug addiction. My community is filled with things that does not allow for a young man or woman, for that matter, to be successful. Now you add on to that. So I was born in 72. So let's say 1982, I'm 10 years old. I'm in this community. And so I am, if you will, I'm being bullied somewhat. Now, we didn't call it bullying in 1982. We just call it kids being kids.
Yeah.
But I was being picked on and bullied because, one, of my skin tone. I have very dark hue. And so, the kids in my neighborhood, they're picking on me because I'm dark. They calling me Blackie, calling me Skillet, calling me all type of not so good things. So now you add that to the mix, and a little young boy who don't even know who he really is, he's having a difficult time finding himself. So all of these things are just brewing on the inside. All of these things are not being dealt with. They're not being talked about. And so I'm left to my own self emotionally and somewhat cognitively. And so I'm steadily growing. I'm steady getting older. I'm steady having life disappointments. I'm steady having life heartbreaks. There are some good times. There are some wonderful times. But these life heartbreaks, they just keep piling. So now you got 1 + 1 + 1 + 2. Eventually, you're going to get to the part where all of these things that keep piling on and keeps piling on and keeps piling on, well, only human can take so much. And so I get into an altercation, and it took me years to unpack this and realize that when I get into an altercation, all of these years of just whatever I'm going through, they just explode.
Yeah.
They explode all at one time. And there's no real rhyme or reason for it. It just happens. It's like a shelf in your house. You keep putting stuff on that shelf, and you keep putting stuff on that shelf, and you keep putting stuff on that shelf, and one day you come in and the shelf is on the ground, and everything on the shelf is on the ground also. And you're like, man, what happened? Well, at some point, the shelf could no longer hold the pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and the shelf just gave way. We're in our humanness, we're the same way. And I would push the envelope a little further, especially because we're talking about the subject of anger.
Mm-hmm.
In our American culture, we do not want people to get angry.
Yeah.
And because we all view anger as this big, ugly word.
Yes.
And so, because we don't want people to get angry, we don't want people to have this emotion because that's all it is. So now you're repressing. Well, I can't get angry. I can't cry. I can't get upset. I can't get mad. You got all of this stuff, and it's just pressing and pressing and pressing and pressing. And then any type of situation happens in your life. Husband can leave you, wife can leave you, child could get hit by a car, you can lose your job, your paycheck is short this week. You know, whatever life throws at you, we never know what is the straw to break the camel's back.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when the camel has not had opportunities to get some of the pressure off of his back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very
And
well said.
then it flows.
What is your sibling situation?
I have an older sister who I believe is 53. Don't get mad at me because I don't know her age. I have a younger brother who's 40. Well, he'll be 40 June the 7th because we're exactly 10 years apart. Then I have a younger sister who's 44.
Okay. So I was curious, did this came up with another guest of ours that has a similar background to what you shared? And were you ever told specifically, or did you innately feel the sense that you needed to be the man of the house and that you needed to step up and help in different ways because you were the oldest boy?
Absolutely. There's this perceived pressure of responsibility. My mother is going to work. And so there are a lot of times when me and my siblings are in the house alone. And so we have to protect each other. And absolutely, I'm the man. So it's my responsibility to make sure everything flows the appropriate way, that my family is safe. And then so my older sister, I recall she went away to college. And so now I'm the oldest boy and I'm the oldest in the home. And so it's my responsibility to get my younger brother, he's 40, I'll be 50, who's 10 years younger than me. So I'm about 14, so he's 4. It's my responsibility to get him to school. It's my responsibility to get him home from school. It's my responsibility to make sure that he eats. You know, all of these things that they shouldn't be my responsibility at 14, but they are.
It's just assumed. Yeah, I imagine that's just another level of another straw on the camel's back is the pressure that's unspoken that you're supposed to show up and help in a bigger way than a kid. You know, ideally, you didn't get to be a kid completely. Yeah. So it makes sense that when someone hears, Christy and I talk about this a lot, we can get distracted by the headline of somebody's crime or why someone ended up in prison with the sentence they got. But really, there's so much more to the story. And so thank you for sharing that, because it makes sense why there would be anger and how the pressure could just one day overflow and explode, and which is what happened with you. So let's skip forward to now the anger has come out and some things happened that ended up with you being incarcerated. Where is the anger now? You've just been given a 30-year sentence. And
that's hard to take in. How do you take in a 30-year sentence? I mean,
one day at a time.
One bite at a time, just slowly swallow it. Wow. Because our last guests have a 35-year sentence. I mean, and I know we all talk about those numbers, but there's just so unfathomable to hear that amount.
So how, and often this happens, you go into prison angry. You're still angry just because now you're even more angry because it's like, look at all these other things and here I am. How did that transition, or how did that play out in your early years incarcerated?
So I don't think I even shared this story with you. I think so. I got found guilty September the 12th, 1998. I was sentenced October the 12th, 1998. And then I think 30 days after that, I finally made it to Menard Correctional Facility in Illinois. And I got to Menard Correction Facility on a Wednesday. By Friday morning, I've already had a fight. And now I'm in segregation. And so from there, I think I had been in segregation maybe 10, 15 days. And my mother came to visit me. And so on visits in segregation, you come out shackled pretty much from your waist all the way down to your feet. You're completely shackled. And so my mother is sitting, and there's a big old huge plexiglass. So my mother can't even touch me. And so she sees me in this situation, this condition, and she asked me, she said, you allowed your anger to get you in trouble in the first place. And so now here it is, you've only been in prison 2 to 3 days and you've already gotten in trouble again. And so she asked me, she said, is this how you plan on spending the next 30 years of your life?
Wow.
And so those words, they stayed with me. I mean, I was like, she makes a great point. At which point am I going to take control of me? At which point am I going to stop letting whatever happened to me in life be the excuse to let the top off of this anger, to let the top off of this rage? When am I going to quit making excuses for my behavior and say, you know what, it's time for you to be accountable, and it's time for you to stand up and get whatever is going on under control?
I think we both had this moment in our own low moments in life where it was like, oh, you mean I have the ability to change this situation? No longer am I blaming or being a victim to decisions I made, decisions we made that put us in a hard situation. To go, oh wait, I can actually make a decision and change the course of this. No, there's a moment we all come to when your mom said that to you of like, oh, like I get to change this now. I'm not just at the mercy of my childhood and the scarcity that I lived in, the things I didn't have. I can actually choose to create a mindset of abundance and shifting the power dynamic in my life to me being in control instead of my surroundings and my circumstances.
And what I find is that most people who had those moments remember like I remember my exact moment. You sound like you remember your exact moment when that thought hit you that, okay, I can do something about this, or I can get into acceptance. What about you? Do you remember?
My moment was with you, and it was early on. I kept wanting to just complain about the people and the circumstances, and I was just a broken record going over, but this happened, and she said this, and he said this, and I was doing this, and just constant blaming and going through the hamster wheel of like all the bad things. And then finally you kept saying, okay, whatever. I don't want to hear about that person. I don't want to hear that story again. What about you? What are you going to do? What are you going to do now? Like, what are the decisions you're going to make? You can keep talking about these people, or you can say, what are you going to do to change your circumstances? And I was like, oh, I can change
Which
this.
is empowering because we can't help what anyone else does, but we can help.
Our society is so used just to blaming and pointing fingers at all the wrongs that happen to us.
And I still do that.
And then I say to you, what are you going to do about it?
And I'm like, who asked you anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I think I shared with you all in the conversation, we blame others because we don't have the courage to blame ourselves. And not
Wait, can you say that again?
We blame others because we don't have the courage to blame ourselves. And when you blame yourself, it's not beating yourself up. It's strictly taking accountability, saying, you know what, I made this decision. And because I made this decision, these are the outcomes. These are the consequences that comes with that. I can't blame no one but myself. So let me take responsibility for me and deal with this in whatever way I'm going to deal with it and move on.
Which is hard to do. I know I'm still fighting it. I'm not fighting it, but really, which is hard to do when when there's a lot of other, forget it. I'm not even going to dig down this hole.
You don't want to?
You want to go down this rabbit hole?
Well, no, I find it interesting that I was directing you to yourself. Don't look at me that way.
I'm just waiting for you to say the thing.
But then when there's all these other things around, don't look at me that way. Yeah, I know.
So
know.
the thing
Let all the other
the thing
stuff
that
fall
came up in
apart.
our conversation, and you can push back now, David, is Christy. You talk about, yes, you have anger sometimes because you're human and anger is a human emotion, but you don't let it be the defining moment of the situation. You work it through, you work it out, and you get your perspective correct or healthy. And Christy is such a healthy girl and she's got such a great life perspective, but she's so angry at the BOP. She's so angry at
RDAP, especially
the RDAP
I'm getting
program.
over it though. I tried to tell them that I love them in a journal. Thanks
But
to David.
here's the thing, Christy. You have every right to be angry.
Yeah, that's the messiness.
She wants to hear that.
Thank you,
She wants
David.
justification.
So here's the thing. You can be angry.
Yeah.
I don't teach no one not to get angry. But what I am going to teach you is this. What are you going to do with the anger? Are you going to sit on the hamster wheel and keep saying the BOP this or the RDAP this, the BOP this, the RDAP this, my mama this, my daddy this, my brother this company this, that is? Because there's a thing called a righteous indignation. So you got every right to be angry. You can't take no one's anger away from them.
Right.
But you don't have a right to not do something because you're angry. You don't have a right to keep sitting there and blaming everybody else because you're angry. Because if Christy would not have made the decisions that she made, Christy would not know BOP. Christy would not know RDAP.
Absolutely.
They are who they are. We're not letting them off the hook.
Right.
I think some people think when it comes to this anger that we're letting, quote unquote, a perpetrator off the hook.
That's exactly how I felt.
It's called
And we're not
forgiveness.
letting no one off the hook. They got to answer for whatever it is that they've done. But we can't allow the anger to consume us.
I think your words specifically were then it hasn't completely transformed you, Christy.
That's
those
what
were,
I didn't like.
That's what your words,
I
and
wanna
then
be
she got mad at you.
Because I want to be transformed. And you said, well, you must not be, then you're not free. And I was like,
right.
You're
because
right.
the only person, because look at it, BOP haven't changed not one rule
nope.
because you're angry.
And they don't even know she's angry. It's not affecting
They
them
don't
at
care.
all.
They would laugh at
So
it.
who's the only one being affected by your anger?
Yeah.
Me, I have to listen to it.
Me and Allison. Yeah.
So you have to say to yourself, this anger is not getting me anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm the only one suffering. I'm the only one in this mental prison. I'm the only one in this emotional prison because of what I keep allowing it to do to me. Yeah, I can be angry, but I have to do something with this anger. I have to write about this anger. I have to fight for prison reform, or I have to bring some awareness to what transpired in this institution. But sitting on your hands and just being angry. So I tell people this: if you are angry just to be angry and you're not doing nothing with the anger, then the anger is no good. Anger could be a great
Motivator.
catalyst for
Yeah.
getting things
And it
done.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, but what got me was when you said I didn't have the courage to be mad at myself. And so you're right. Damn it, Christy.
Who asked David Gethers anyway?
No, it was no, I've been writing a lot about it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Because for me, growing up, anger was not appropriate. So I'm not comfortable with anger.
And we get comfortable in anger, right? We get comfortable in the blame game and the victim game, and it's a comfortable place to live sometimes.
Especially when they're assholes.
Yeah, it's just a lot of work to say, I'm going to release this anger. It takes a lot of work to say, I'm going to let this go and be better for it. I know the other thing he said that you didn't like was that the best time of your life was prison. You want to unpack that one?
Absolutely. Hey, look, I found David.
I hear you. Yes.
I found David.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about this, and you read my book, and you read in chapter 2 where I
Yes.
actually talk about prison was the best time of my life because I really did. I found myself. I was able to get rid of the anger. I was able to say, you know what? You have to take responsibility for you. You have to begin to take the steps and make plans to have a better life when this is all over. So I was able to sit down and enjoy David. I was able to sit down and figure out who David is. I was able to sit down and map out a successful plan for David's life moving forward without all of the distractions. And so because of that,
So good.
this was a great time for me. I began pouring into other individuals. I began to help them read, help them learn how to write, help them get a GED, that's helped them to start thinking differently about their situation and about life. I transformed. And so I took my inmates with me and we all went on this transformation journey together. And some of us transformed for the very, very good. And unfortunately, some people did not transform and they recidivated and went back to prison. But to just know I played a vital role in people getting to the other side of whatever it is that had them stuck.
So what do you think about how can we go through hard things that don't land us in prison or don't land us crashing and burning in our own lives? Can we have that moment where we get to know ourselves and we learn who we are without causing like mass destruction in our life?
That's what I always ask.
Yes, you can.
What's that look like? Because neither one of us did it that way.
And I wrote about that in my book also. Out of 100%, let's just say about 80% of us are going to crash and burn in order to figure out who we are.
That's sad.
20% of us will have the luxury of finding ourselves because of mentors or finding ourselves because we're intelligent enough to see our sister burn or see our mother burn or to see our brother or see people around us crash and burn.
We're not
We're intelligent
intelligent.
enough to say, you know what? I'm not going to do that.
No, David, I have to touch the stove. I'm sorry. I'm the girl that has to touch the stove to really believe it's hot. That's just me.
That's
You?
just the way you're
80% of
made.
us, 80% of us are like that. 80% of us have to touch the stove. We have to touch the wet paint to see if it's really wet. We just do. The curiosity of us will not allow us not to have
That's it.
hands-on experience.
But let's
That's
talk about
the curiosity. I love the fact that I'm curious.
Me too. I think it's one of our superpowers.
Yeah,
I love being curious and wanting to know about all sorts of things, all sorts of people. Even if it's not my thing or my hobby, I want to learn about it. I just want to know things.
Okay?
And the paint is wet and the stove was hot.
Yeah. So and
And now I know
got some big
I won't do it
lessons.
anymore, but I needed to do it.
Yeah.
So that's maybe an encouragement to our audience that's watching, like not to beat ourselves up and to own and take ownership and responsibility for the things that the decisions we've made that have hurt ourselves and other people. And then to learn and grow for it. Use those opportunities. Like, I don't want to have to go back to the thing that I want to learn the lesson the first time around. I don't want to have to go back to it. I think I'm pretty good at that. But I have to learn the lesson. And for our audience to not beat ourselves up, like learn and move forward.
Well, and there's a light and a dark on both sides. If you're curious, there's a light side of it that's amazing. And then can be a shaky side if you're curious about some things, right?
And that's the one thing we definitely want to leave with your listening or viewing audience is we're never going to beat ourselves up. We're never going to beat someone else up because life is an experience, and in this experience, we're going to have some good and we're going to have bad. I would hope the message that is being heard is that, hey, whatever happened has happened. Let's get to the other side of whatever has happened because there's so much life left to live. If we can just get to the other side of whatever. You said, how do we do this without making a catastrophe of our life, if you will.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, a bad relationship can make your eyes come open. Again, losing a job can make your eyes come open. It don't have to necessarily be prison. It don't have to necessarily be something horrible happening to you. It could just, it could be getting a speeding ticket. And you realize, you know what? I need to stop speeding. I speed all the time and I got pulled over and I got this ticket and now I got to pay a $150 fine and I don't want to be giving my money away and this could have been worse than what it was. Let me learn from this. And most lessons that we learn, here we go, cost us something.
Yeah.
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 If it
I like,
costs you something, you will learn from it.
yeah. I like when you were talking about anger with Christine, you're like, well, did you do the thing? So like,
Yeah,
who's to blame?
Yeah,
Who's
of
to
course.
focus on? You did the thing, so you can change the thing you did next time.
Yeah.
It's on you. The responsibility is on you.
Yeah.
People want to just keep blaming. It's so much easier for us to say, well, you tried to do with that speeding ticket. You were like, it's not fair that they just took a picture of me and sent it to me in the mail. That's not okay. I'm like, but were you speeding, Christy? But that's just not okay. But you were.
Hey, I'm in progress. I'm a growth progress.
But it's about taking that
I got
responsibility.
3 of them, so I think now I've learned. But you really, but
It costs you something. It costs you about $1,000 at the end of the day.
Probably, yeah. But I did fight it. But I didn't get all the way. Yes, I know. Okay, now I'm really,
Stop speeding.
I'm getting this glaring look
Message.
at myself.
Information.
This glaring message, information myself. Thank you. I welcome it, and I'm
Okay.
well because I want to be free.
So can
love
I
it.
ask you what while you're incarcerated, what made you angry that you had to regularly process through while you were incarcerated? Were there some recurring angry topics, moments?
So the
People.
reoccurring thing was that I was in prison. I didn't have my freedom. So that made me more angrier than anything because even if my mother couldn't come visit me and it made me upset, at the end of the day, you made the decision that you made. You're in prison. So can you really get mad at your mom? No, you got to get mad at yourself.
Yeah.
Even if something happened in my family and it's nothing I could control or I couldn't do, yeah, I'm gonna get angry about it because I'm not there or whatever the case may be. But once I unpack it, can I really get angry with them? No, I gotta again get angry with myself because if I didn't put myself in the position that I was in, then all of these butterfly effect things that's transpiring, they would not be happening. So I have to take ownership of my role. And because I take ownership, I can't get mad at Christy because she don't want to come visit me.
Yeah.
It's good.
I have to,
That is
It's so powerful.
it is, and it seems so simple, but it's not. You had to say it to me so many times before I finally stopped complaining about the person or the thing. To finally I would start to hear myself do it and stop myself because you had to say it so many times to me.
A lot.
You're saying it now. I had a lot of.
No, it was a lot of hiking, a lot of processing, a lot of that. But also, I just want to make one comment too that just came to me. I think I know for myself, I thought if I blamed myself, underlying thought was that I'm bad. So like my underlying message
like,
to
"I don't wanna be
myself
bad."
was that I'm bad instead of like I'm a flawed human being. That like if I did something wrong, that I'm a bad human. I don't know where I got that message. Not from my family for sure, but yeah. Instead of just saying, "Well, I made a mistake" and move on, it's like I push it away. So yeah, and I thought I was all past all that. So it's good for us to keep processing and growing and all of that. Yeah. I don't know why we want to do that. I think as humans. And so that's why we need our people. We need other people around us that will pour truth into us. And the thing with you, you were willing. I wouldn't have kept talking if you weren't willing to hear, and you were. And I'm like, I want you to feel better, so let's do this thing. And that's what David does with all those people that you speak to.
Could you talk? Well, that's a great segue. Could you tell our audience about what you do, like a day in the or a week in the life of David Gethers? What is your job? We already know your awesome schedule that you've set for yourself,
Yes, that I took notes of, and I want that same
the dream
schedule.
schedule. But can you tell everybody what you do in a week and how that looks?
Each day typically starts at about 6 a.m. And so I always start my day with centering myself. That's with prayer, that's with meditation, that's with reading, with breathing, so that I am equipped to handle what's coming next. So every day I have at least 5 clients who I do personal coaching with to help them overcome whatever it is that has them stuck in life. And so these coaching sessions are an hour. So there go 5 hours of my day right there with these 5 clients. And these sessions are tough. You know, they're extremely tough because I'm trying to get somebody to let go of something that they've held on to all of their life.
Security blanket.
That's like trying to pull a dog from a bone. I mean, a bone from a dog.
I get it.
And so, and emotionally, that's an awful
It's a
lot.
lot.
So that's why I love to work out. So that's typically every single day. Then, you know, I have when I'm on the road traveling, then I have to speak to various audiences about reentry or cognitive behavior therapy or decision making or how to overcome adversity. So then I'm sitting there doing that with various organizations who called me in. But on a daily basis, I'm going to have 5 clients that I do coaching with. And it's a different person every day because each individual depends on what they sign up for. Most of them do once a week, but some they enjoy what they do 3 times a week. And we sit there and we do what we're doing right now. We're having a conversation, we're unpacking life. I'm trying to take their hangups and their hookups away from them so that they can get to the other side and live life the way that it was intended for them to live. And that's a rough day for me.
Yeah. In general, I have 2 questions. In general, is there a common theme of what your 5 in a day are struggling with? Is there a common theme of what's really hard for people to let go of?
In general.
In general, yeah, not specifics.
The past, that whatever has happened yesterday is so hard for them to let it go and move on. And one thing I share with people all the time, we're not dismissing what happened. It happened. And whatever it was took place 30, 40 seconds. Hypothetically, it may have taken an hour, whatever took place, but that's all it took. That's all it is. It's a few seconds, few hours, whatever. But on the other side of whatever it is that happened is millions of hours of good living left to explore.
Right.
And so if we can get you
that.
to let it go, we didn't say forget it. We didn't say don't be angry about it. We didn't say don't be hurt by it. We didn't say don't be disappointed. But what we are saying is let it go.
Like remove the roadblock. Get the roadblock out of your road.
If you see my hand, it's closed and I have something in it. But I can't put nothing new in it if I don't let go of what's already in it.
Yeah.
You can experience the new life that's available to you until you open up your hand and let go of what's in it so something new can be placed inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And letting go does not mean that it did not happen. Yes, it happened. but so many other beautiful things can happen if you let it go.
Don't
Amen.
start singing the song.
Which one? Let it go. Yeah.
And then my other question was, where
It's
do
good.
you do your speaking? Like what types of venues do you do your speaking engagements?
I do colleges, I do high schools, I do Fortune 100, a few Fortune 500 organizations. I do them at community events. I do them at the police station. I do them in prisons. I'm kind of busy. I get around.
Do you have a favorite? Because I'm thinking of like college could be so powerful because
thinking the
they're
same
young
thing.
and they haven't lived a lot of life yet, but it doesn't mean they haven't been through hard things yet. That seems like a really cool
I was thinking
venue.
the same thing. That would be a great college course. Like every year you got to take a course with David. What shit do you need to let go?
With a lot of the guests we've had, they've learned some amazing life lessons and they're passing them out now.
Yeah, that would be a
So,
great class.
I love the high school students and the college students. Reason being, they are actually in a transformation stage.
Pivotal
When you think
moments,
about
yeah.
high school, all the way up into high school, someone is telling you what courses to take, what you need to do this, what you need to do that. You have the parents that hover over you to make sure things are being done the right way. And then your freshman year in college, without any training, if you will, you're given the keys to your life and you don't have anyone to tell you what to do.
Yep.
So depending on how you grew up and the influences that you had in your life, it determines what happens at age 19 moving forward. And so can you imagine talking to these bright-eyed kids who have finally got the keys to their life in their hand where they get to make their own decisions, but yet they don't have a formula for how to make great decisions. And so for me to be able to go in and talk to them and share with them the ugly part of my life, how I made a horrible decision, but how I was able to turn it around and share with them, because at this point, they done made a few bad decisions. They done had a few disappointments in life. And so now you can get them at this critical juncture and impact their lives moving forward by just sharing something with them.
That's awesome. How about the police stations? What's the common theme that you're sharing there?
So when I work with the police departments, because we're working on what we call reentry. What things can we do for these young men and women who are getting out of prison? And so we work with them on soft life skills. We work with them on teaching them how to have a different perspective about their lives, about what they did in the past, about moving forward. We teach them how to be in control of their emotions, how to be in control of their anger, how to be in control of the decisions that they make. You have to take responsibility for you. It's okay to get out of jail and give them somewhere to live. It's okay for them to get out of the jail and we give them a job. But if they get out of jail and we don't address the cognitive issues that they face, the house, the job, the family, the friends, none of those things can prevent them from committing another crime.
It won't stick. Yeah.
Do you find any pushback with the police department since they're the ones that are apprehending the people making not good decisions, and then now they're on the other side of it helping them re-enter?
So for me, there is no pushback, and here's the reason why. Now I'm going to throw something kind of very sensitive out on the table. George Floyd's death has caused a monumental cultural shift for all of us, police departments as well as citizens. And so a lot of police departments are trying to get to the other side of this horrible incident. And one of the ways they're trying to get to the other side is more community involvement. And so in order to look like the good guys, if you will, they have to bring in programs and they have to have more community involvement. You can't just keep arresting a person and then never help the person on the other side. And, truthfully speaking, and we're talking hundreds of years ago, the word cop started in England and it stands for citizens on patrol. And the community police themselves.
That's good.
And when the community police themselves, they determine what happened to an individual within the community who violated the laws. And so now we have a police department who is trying to get back to the original mission of what community policing is. And that's engaging the community in healthy ways so that as a whole, we can figure out what's the best approach for someone who violates our community norms.
And you have ownership as a community member and teaming together and joining forces in love and compassion and wanting your community better. It's not just about throwing somebody in prison. It's like, let's help this person become whole and free and figure out the I'm not articulating that at all, but I love the idea of joining forces.
Yeah, and sorry.
I'm sorry, because for Dallas, by taking the police officers and the first responders and making them a part of the reentry model and program, it helps. This whole program in and of itself helps reduce crime, because if I get out of prison and my community and the police department embrace me and help me get the necessary tools to be successful, then there's a great chance that I won't commit another crime.
Right.
So how well I do in the community depends on how well the community embrace me.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing. Why won't the community and the police department embrace me? I committed a crime. A judge sentenced me to go to prison for whatever amount of time because of my crime. When I get out, when I've done what they asked me to do, I should be restored.
Yeah,
I should be restored. I did what I'm supposed to do according to the norms of our society.
yes.
And so why is it that you shun me instead of embrace me and help me? Because you shunning me is only going to harden my heart and make me commit crimes again. So
Amen.
if we take a community approach to this and we all embrace them and help them, show them that they're loved, to show them that, okay, hey, yeah, you did whatever you did. We smacked you on the wrist, put you on punishment. The punishment is over. Let's be productive.
Well, and the one thing that I keep thinking is a lot of police officers, everybody goes through their, pain and their anger and all this stuff that they need to let go. I'm wondering how many police officers are, taking your courses and having these 1-hour conversations with you in the day to let stuff go. Because I'm telling you, like, people shun the thing that reminds them of themselves, maybe not committing those specific crimes, but they have all this anger and stuff built up inside. And if they have somebody processing that with them, they can let that stuff go as well. And they're not going to be so judgmental and so, squashing the person coming out of prison. So yeah, ideally, if they had an hour with you every day, that could be your full-time
That's
job.
our assignment.
It's just with police, processing all that anger from their own stuff. And then that could, that's what I kind of am a takeaway from that.
So I knew this was going to fly. I'm really sad. I know. I knew this was going to fly, David. In like a minute, is there anything we haven't mentioned that you think is a really powerful thing that you like to share with people that we haven't touched on before we get to our fun speed round to end our hour with you?
I think we covered just about everything.
Just all the surface stuff we got there.
Yeah.
We touched on it.
And I love the fact that you're out. I mean, I know we didn't really talk about the 15-year compared to the 30-year. Like,
Do you want to
why-
mention that?
Can
You
you
had
say
30
why
years
you got out?
and you got out in 15. What happened?
So the state's attorney, and they realized that they made some mistakes in the course of my case. And so instead of risking me going to trial a second time and winning, they got together amongst themselves and said, hey, let's just make him do 15 years and call it even Steven. And
Okay.
so they took off 15 years. I did the 15 years and got on out.
Wow.
And how long from when you knew that process was underway until you walked out? What was that timeline?
So I found out about the resentencing probably a year into my prison sentence.
Oh.
And when it first happened, I thought it was a joke. I didn't even believe it was going to actually occur. I was like, what? Are they sure? But yeah, it was all legit. And so it happened rather quickly and I was excited.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, yeah. And your
I can't
family, I can
someone-
imagine your
yeah,
family.
and just someone like you that's in there, right? That has grown so much and provided so much, transformation for other people, to have that be wasted in a prison cell. So
Yeah. Can you
thank
imagine?
you
Yeah.
for what you're
15 more
doing.
years would not have done what it needed to do. It would
what
have.
they thought. Yeah.
And think about it. If I am to finish that 30-year prison sentence, I'm not scheduled to get out to 2028.
I'm so glad you're sitting here with
Yes.
us right now in 2022. I'm so happy about that.
So true.
So, David, we have a speed round. If you've ever watched our show, it's our way we like to end with just some fun, quick one-word answers, just to get to know you a little bit about things that really don't matter, but they're fun to know.
yeah, it's good to know a little bit more about
Right.
David.
Yeah, hit it, girl.
Okay. Are you a morning or night person?
Morning.
Morning. Let's see. Tell us what your hidden talent is. Do you have a hidden talent?
I'm a great cook.
Oh,
What's your favorite dish?
My favorite dish, I would say my smothered chicken.
Ooh, that sounds so good.
it's dinner time here, David.
Okay. Are you better with a phone call or text?
Phone call.
Do you like salty or sweet?
Salty.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool are you?
10.
Oh yeah. See, I
Ten
love
plus.
all our guests say 10 because we agree.
Yeah.
Let's see. What makes you smile?
Seeing the light go off in somebody else's eyes.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, that's
I love
sweet.
that.
That's loving.
Let's see. If you were running for office, what would your campaign slogan be?
Let's get to the other side.
Oh, I like the let's. That's like let us.
Right.
It's
Let us-
partnering
In community.
together in community, connecting with someone else and saying, I'm next to you through this.
Yeah,
I love that part.
that's good. Are you gonna cry?
I haven't cried yet today, and I cry every day, so it's this is a good moment.
Okay. What's a product or an item that you can't live without?
A product or item I cannot live without.
Like you use it every day.
I use it every single day.
Or
That would be my phone then.
your phone. Okay, I hear you. As a business.
Are you okay putting your phone away for periods of time?
Yes, I am, but
Yeah.
only periods of time.
like 2 minutes? No, I'm just
You
kidding.
said period. You didn't. You didn't
How
distinguish.
easy, doesn't it? Okay, we're all.
Oh,
we're all
that's
done.
so good. Well, before we say goodbye, any last words of encouragement for our viewers?
Yes, let us get to the other side. All of us face difficulty. All of us have mishaps. All of us have gotten it wrong somewhere in life. But whatever that is, if you lock arms with someone else, take them on this journey with you, get to the other side of that mishap, get to the other side of that disappointment, get to the other side of that mistake, and keep on living.
I love that.
Living. That's beautiful.
No,
Thank you
I
so much.
do.
I really appreciate you and our conversation as well.
Thank you for taking the
changed.
time.
Yeah.
You are a busy guy and you're doing amazing things. And for us to get an hour now and an hour earlier this week with you is just our privilege. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Well, I thank you, ladies, and you're doing great work. And I want you all to continue to do what you all are doing. This is a wonderful platform to help your audience, and it's a wonderful platform to give people who are doing some amazing work who don't have the means to be highlighted. So that is amazing within it of itself to highlight other people.
Thank you.
Our
Can you
pleasure.
give one last shout out about your upcoming podcast?
Yeah, so
And
I
your
have
book.
So I have a book called WeakDay Remedies, WEAK Day Remedies. Christy is going to show you the book. And so this book has produced a mastermind group. It has produced and is now producing a podcast. And the podcast will be called WeakDay Remedy as well. And each week I'm going to be passing out anecdotes to the American people on how to get over heartbreak, disappointments, and setbacks.
I'm so excited. I'm a podcast junkie and I'm subscribing the second I can. So I'm excited.
We'll let you all know.
Subscribers.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, David. Have a great night.
You all do the same.
Bye,
I'll sit down with
everybody.
you
Thank
soon.
you so much.
Bye.